What's going down, everybody? Let's get real transparent and real vulnerable and take a trip into your wounded soul, because this subject affects all of us. Let's talk about our parents. Let's talk about our parents, the good and the bad and the ugly, and hopefully this gives us some realization. My youngest daughter and I were talking the other day, and we were just being kind of vulnerable. And I tell her, I said, I'm doing things a little bit differently with you, where I allow myself to be vulnerable. Now, in order for me to even be vulnerable, to know my emotions and just acknowledge what I'm feeling and all this, that, and the third, I had to do a lot of therapy. FYI, I didn't just wake up doing that. This is something that happened a little bit later on in life. So I tell her, it's important that I'm vulnerable with you, because you need to know that I'm human. You need to know, come on, man. You need to know that what you feel, I feel. Your peer pressure, I feel peer pressure. It's things like you might be thinking about, you want to get high at a party, or you want to, give action to this ball player, or you want to do the wrong thing. And you think that me as a parent, that I don't want to do the wrong thing. And if you look, every mistake that we hold our parents accountable to is because we did not want them to be human like us. When I look back, and I've had some parental discrepancies. I tell you, I've come a long way. And what helps me now at this age, and I'm older, to say, man, but at the end of the day, mom was just a woman. She was going through this, that, the third, everything that we allow ourselves a pass for, she was going through too. But we don't allow our parents that same pass. Now, hold on. I'm not saying that it's okay that you were hurt by your mama, and that you had a mama that looked away when this happened, and a daddy that was doing this. Some of us have went through some really terrible things by the hands of our parents. It's not okay. Do not for a moment think I am trivializing anyone's pain. No one's pain is trivialized. However, at some point as an adult, sometimes we're holding on to that pain so much based on, my mama and my daddy. And we are middle-aged, still blaming, instead of saying, hey, at the end of the day, as my mama, she was just a human wrapped up in flesh. That's it. She was going to make some mistakes. And did those mistakes affect you? Yeah, they did. They affected everything you did, from the way that you pick a mate, the way that you spend money. Hey, I struggle with money management. I do, because my mama, love my mama, but my mama did not teach good money management. I struggle with a lot of times emotion, because it wasn't no crying allowed in my house. There are so many things that we like to point the finger. And again, all these things take precedent and manifest themselves in our behaviors. But how long are we going to allow that and keep on pointing before we say, you know what though? At the end of the day, they probably did the best that they could. Listen, I'm sorry your daddy used to hit you when he was drunk. I'm not saying you can't take that personal, but see, your daddy was a drunk before. He was a drunk way before he had you, probably. I'm sorry that your daddy was a lying cheater, but he was probably that way before. I'm not saying it's not personal. I am saying that, just like we were talking about last week, that if you this way before, you're going to continue to be that way. Hey, when your mama was single, she had that, tool in her before. So when she got with you, you probably witnessed her doing some tool behavior. Now listen, if you had the type of parent that had you and they were like Mother Teresa, and hey man, that's beautiful. I'm glad you had that. I must say that's probably not true, and your mama did a good job of hiding it. One time I told my mom, I gave up heart. I said, I never seen a lot of men around. I never seen this. She said, that don't mean I wouldn't do it. I hid it from you. But a lot of times, in our own humanity, we don't do a good job of hiding things from our children. We don't. And to be honest, some things we are so big. I don't want them to see me cry. I don't want them to see me struggle. Sometimes they need to see that stuff so they can cope with real life. So they can know that, hey, parents argue. Hey, mom does get frustrated. Hey, mama was hurt behind that divorce. Hey, daddy was neglected by mom and treated bad, and maybe that's why he got the side piece. Whatever I'm saying, it will do us all a great service if we remember that this platform that we have our parents on, we have it on a platform because they're our first heroes. They're our first protectors. They're our first pattern of love. They are everything to us. But sometimes we have to be mindful, but that they just human too. And they fail. they are going to fail. And I believe God designs it so that, if there's a such thing as a perfect person, which there's not, if there's not a perfect person, then you can't be a perfect parent. I know my first child gives me, and I'm not going to say gives me hell. It's just a lot of things that I have done the wrong way. I have. Listen, I got pregnant at 15 years old. And a lot of times, look, and that's not it's just, here's what I'm going to say. A lot of times we hold our parents to this standard of, and I blame social media, because we like to look at other people's relationships. Oh, that mama do this, and this daddy did that, and that person did that. So this lady at church was talking about me and my youngest girl, Gigi. Y'all know the bird. Talking about our relationship. And she said, I want a relationship with my daughter just like y'all's. I will give you that, but she don't know the behind the scenes. She don't know when I'm crying on my pillow at night based on something that my child, she doesn't know the stuff that Bird goes through with me. You know what I'm saying? So for all my teenagers, for all of us with parent wounds, let's just stop and take a minute. And you can either choose to let that pain eat you up, that they did the wrong thing, or you can choose to say, hey, unfortunately, that's what they had to go through, and that's all they knew. I remember I used to say, I'll admit it, I'll be honest. I said, yeah, I deserve better parents. My father was in the penitentiary most of my life, and then when he got out, he was still in the street. It wasn't the Huxtables. That wasn't it, right? And I said that to a friend. I said, I deserve better parents, and I will never forget what he said to me. He said, why do you think that? Because truth be told, the parents that you got, your neglecting daddy, you're spazzing out mama, you're molesting whoever they were, hey, talk to me. That is exactly who God picked for you. Because a lot of your good attributes, that strength, that wisdom, that height, that beauty, that allure, it came from one of them no good parents. So we're so big, and myself included, where we nitpick so much and we don't understand that it's eating us alive to say, hey, mama did this and this and this and this and this and this and this wrong. And what we fail to see is everything that they did right. Sometimes even neglecting you and abandoning you was the biggest step of love they could have had. I have a home girl, and she is so big on her daddy never being around. He neglected her, was never around. But I know that same dude, he was around for the other siblings, and their story was horrible. So he did her a great service. You know what I'm saying? So let's humanize that same humanity that we give ourselves. We will do great by giving that same thing to our parents. Hey, teenagers, your parents struggling too. The same little stuff that you have going on, they have it too. But the only thing is, it's compounded with bills and trying to make you not worry and giving you everything that we didn't have. And here's the thing. Sometimes I'll say it, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's no other way to say it. Because if the parent gives you too much, when you grow older, you know what you'll say? Yeah, but I was too spoiled and they didn't help me. And they didn't give you enough. And you'll say, hey, I went without, I should have had more. Sometimes there's no win, because we have this delusion of what it's supposed to look like, right? So I just want to challenge us all. My mama said something a few weeks ago, and it broke my heart. And I had to do some soul searching. I was on her about something, because I do. A lot of times I'm still working on projecting a lot of my young pain onto, I'd have been better. She had to did this, and I did better. And does that mean I'm right or wrong? No. It just means that my story is my story, and that's a story that God gave me. And I was on her about something. And she came back and she said, nothing I do, no matter what I say, is going to be wrong anyway. And it hurt me. It hurt me, because I was like, I do treat her like that. I do. When I look back at it, it's like everything she says, I got to chop it up, because what I am doing is projecting the pain or that I have a lack of acceptance, for things that I can't change. No way. I can't change who that woman was. That woman is who she is. So if we come and say, I wish I probably would have had more infection, but what if I would have had that and that would have screwed me up anyway? We have to, God said, what I learned, I'm going to leave us with this. All of us, whether you going into parenthood, and also another question for those who I'm thinking about having a baby. Don't get caught up in, I want to be a mama because I think I'm supposed to. Hey man, this parenthood is, and I don't want to hear about it when your child is. If you haven't hit teenage years, don't talk to me about it. You ain't went through nothing yet. It's still cute for you. But those of us who have raised a parent to a child to adulthood, we got our stories. And another thing too, you wanted such a better parent. You wanted a parent that didn't do this and didn't do that. And let me say something, I'm finna hurt somebody's feelings. What made you think that we don't feel the same way about you? What made you think we didn't want a better child? I didn't want a homosexual. I didn't want a child that shack up. I didn't want a child who is out here on the streets selling dope. I didn't want a child who denied Jesus. I didn't want a child who wear, the opposite sex clothes. I didn't want a child who didn't go into this field. And let's be honest, you love them. We love you anyway, but you're not the only one who has disappointments. So we have disappointments as children. We have disappointment as parents. And when you have children, you kind of start to understand your parents a little bit more. So let's be grateful, because God said you have to honor your father and thy mother. And what we think is, especially in this day and age, and protect your peace and doing this and running, we think that means if I feel like they're not honorable, then God gonna throw me a pass. Listen, that ain't how God works, baby. God don't give you a pass. He said what he said. And sometimes that means you have to be creative in the way you honor them. I'm not saying you got to go around your drunk, toxic mom and let her hurt you. Don't do that. But maybe you could pick up her prescription and leave it in the mailbox. I'm not saying that no good, father who used to beat on you, who still have a short temper, make you feel away. I'm not saying if that's not really conducive and edifying to you. I'm not saying y'all got to go to the ball game, but maybe you can say, hey man, I'm gonna drop by some food for you. It's just little things that we do that shows growth in ourselves, to say, hey man, I want to be better. I want to let go of all those wounds that are affecting my relationships. They are affecting the way I raise my kids. They are affecting me as a whole. And I'm going to tell you something else. Your parents going on with their life. They don't care. They don't. Hey, man, we did the best we could. So I can't take nothing back. I can't redo it, because this is my first time doing this too. Y'all ever stop to think about that our parents didn't know, because it was their first time, first, second, third, fourth, everybody get raised. All the children in the scheme get raised differently because the circumstances change, because we are all human. We are all wrapped up in humanity. So let's be mindful of that in regards to just remembering that, hey, your mama, I'm sorry as you think she a saint, your mama get, sexually aroused. Your mama like company. Your mama got tears. Your mama got her own trauma she went through that she might not be telling you, and all these things. And you can't change who they are. God picked them for you, for your story. So just a thought for all of us, my teenagers, where you at? We're going to make sure that you understand before it gets too far, before you let this take up an excuse for you. Well, my mom and well, my daddy. Hey, man, we're going to have to grow up out of that. Peace out.